discussing patterns. Patterns are such a critical aspect to permaculture design because nature is constantly showing us patterns. And those patterns are patterns in time, succession, the way things grow, the way the sun moves across the sky, the way cloud formations are formed, where we get drought, where we get drenched. Right? There's so many different forms of patterns that we can learn from in order to design appropriately.
Gotta see the bigger picture before looking at the small. If you can't see the forest for the trees, then you're not really seeing at all. Before you do anything, gotta know how it's done. Work from a pattern to the details. You'll be halfway there before you've even begun. Around, around, around. Oh, they'll tell you what you need to know. From what the weather's doing, if there's rain brewing, to how to make your garden grow. We can rely on patterns, and you can learn them faster. Train your brain to retain them. Become a pattern master. Yeah.
So think of your skill as patterning what is taking place in your bioregion, in your local environment. I see that, for example, these plants have a particular way of growing. Apple trees get X amount of height or tall. Fruit trees need more pruning for better production. You know, this could be a kind of design scheme for creating the appropriate patterning that you need to get the maximum benefit and outcome to what it is you're choosing to do. Gravity always pulls water in such a way that it goes with the least resistance. So what will be your design for moving water across the landscape? How are you mimicking the patterns and functioning them in such a way that they're benefiting your goals, right? Another important aspect of learning patterns is that you will make less and less mistakes. This is really important. I can't tell you how many places I've seen around the world where there wasn't an understanding of patterns, understanding of the elements, how they function, and how we can then harmonize and work with them to improve our design, to improve our living in ease with nature. This is the fun, is that once you get to know it and you start making appropriate decisions and then you see them actually working, when you say, oh wow, we built that dam strong enough and wide enough to where we're actually catching the amount of water that we need. We're actually reducing the erosion. We're creating a benefit to how our existence is on this planet. This is exciting. And so really take the time to learn about your patterns and how they function. All patterns have a component of time. And so to understand the sequence of events in ways that things perpetuate themselves, grow, or over time develop is equally as important as understanding the pattern itself, whether it's a spiraling or spherical or scatter pattern or explosive pattern or a veining river form of pattern. Any of these patterns have some form of time component to them that if we understand them, then we can align the way that things perpetuate themselves so that we're, in a sense, ahead of the game.
We're pulling from the municipality, but even when we are limited to our natural ways of managing things as simple as water, we can still emulate and create a pattern of nature within our distribution system. So how that then gets distributed has a consciousness to it as well. So we've broken this up into separate areas, and then we've taken it down and spread it out, kind of like the ribs in your body. So it comes down a main thing and then channels out, but then it's reconnected as well so that everything can circulate in a pattern. Because what we want to try to do is create as much pattern as possible. That is what, form follows function. It's what creates the conditions that are conducive for nature to flourish. And in the urban environment, we have just constant pattern overlay on us that isn't actually conducive for us as a natural person. If you were to take a 5-gallon bucket of water and put it in your car with the lid off and then drive around the block, it's going to be sloshed everywhere, right? You're coming up to all these intersections that are stopping and moving and going. That's what's happening inside of us. We are water, and so as we're moving through the environment, we're stopping, we're going, there's this pressure and this resistance within our own body frame. So how can we create a system, even on simple lots, that can flow, that allows us to flow, that allows for less stress? How do we heal these intersections that are not just within our metal and oil and cars, but within our society? And that's, one of the things that we're trying to do on this major intersection. 5 different streets all coming together with one of the major tributaries of Temescal Creek, which was a sacred Ohlone native watershed that entered into the bay at one of the largest shell mounds in coastal California, that now has an IKEA sitting on top of it with a little shell mound memorial to the native people. That's, an insult again to the natural native pattern, and the people here are trying to find the ways to work with it, and just like we are, we're all in the same way, but we need to take our privilege that we have of access to then address these issues.